Hey guys, welcome to Relentless Talk Radio. This is this week's The Video Lab with Scotty Yang, aka Scotty Warren. And so Scotty Yang is Scott Warren's videographer persona. And so that's why I always get mixed up. But we meet every Thursday at 7 o'clock on the second and fourth Thursday. And we are talking this week about hiring a video production firm company. Now, we talked last week about it, and we have some more stuff to kind of dig deeper into today. So I'm going to let Scotty kind of take over while I open up my notes here. And
no problem. Well, okay, so the last episode we talked about, things when you're trying to look and hire a production company or agency to help you with your video. Well, this is a bit of a continuation. This is okay, you've established who that company is going to be. So what does that look like in terms of what that collaboration, we emphasized that on the last episode. It's a collaboration. It's not a one-way street where you just hand it off to someone and you wipe your hands clean. It's like, I'm done. I'm going on break, right? No, it doesn't work like that, because you're not going to get the power out of the content that you need, because you need to have a communication flow with the company to make sure that you get what you want. They understand the target metrics of why you're creating that, what your end game is with those in terms of metrics go. And three is like, you just want to make sure that you're getting what you pay for. And that's part of this, why it's so critical, like communication, like in anything, communication is key in anything. So that's kind of what we're going to really focus on now. What does that process look like for you as the client or business owner in today's episode?
So we talked kind of pre-show about the idea of a video production company. And what we're thinking about in that case is either hiring a freelancer or hiring a team of freelancers or hiring a full-blown production company that could be of the small, medium, or large variety. So we're talking about anytime you're hiring a video force to create your company. And I think that it's important to understand. I think it's really cool that you talk about communication, because I think some people like to work one-on-one with someone.
Right.
And if that's really the way you're best at working, then you might want to hire a freelancer like Scotty Yang to do your production. Or you might want to hire a company that has assigned you a particular human that is dedicated to your cause. If you're a one-on-one communicator and you need that is definitely something to consider. Now, you also might be someone that's just like, hey, I don't care how it gets done. I just want to make sure that the company is dealing with it and they've got a team, and I'll work with multiple people. Just tell me what to do. That's also. But it all comes down to, you don't just check out when you're creating something for your business.
Well, not necessarily, no. I mean, obviously, if you come into it with just not enough knowledge, or you really want to be a hands-off, they're going to figure out like a best case scenario that makes it comfortable.
I guess what I'm saying about checking out is, you know your business and they know video.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Engaged with making sure, to your point earlier, that your business message is
right. No, I see what you're saying.
Right.
It doesn't work where you just hire them and they go create the video and then you review the finished cut and then you say, change this. No, because that's actually going to be a waste of time and dollars.
Yeah.
Right? They want to know some of that pertinent information, purpose, tone. Maybe you do have like a creative vision for it. They want to know. You need to tell these people and meet with these folks up ahead in pre-production before they go out and start shooting stuff up ahead. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting time and money. Like they shoot everything just kind of based off of what little info they have.
What they think they know about your business. Like, I'm always amazed. Well, I'm not amazed anymore. Depending upon how a person receives me, they either see me as a radio talk show host or a health and fitness expert or a philanthropist or a painter or a writer. It depends upon how they meet me, right?
Right.
So to assume that everyone's going to understand my business plan is really kind of silly, number one, because the people are looking from the outside in. They don't necessarily know. And I also think that you and I have gone through this ourselves, that you will learn something about your business when you're working with a creative.
Oh yeah, totally.
I don't know, it was maybe about 4 or 5 episodes ago, we worked on a worksheet that kind of helped identify who my first evergreen video was going to speak to. And in doing that, we realized we had like 9 or 10 different evergreens to make with different spins, especially considering kind of the craziness of my my brand, right? You know, I mean, it's my own person. So I think you do learn stuff. And also knowing your budget is really important.
Oh my gosh. So that's like number one is the people you're going to be working with. We got to know what we're working with budget wise. You got to know what we're working with budget wise, because that dictates, types of equipment being used. Do I need to rent something? Do I not need to rent something? Do we have, are we hiring actors or models depending on what it is? It really, really dictates, you can stretch a dollar, you can, but you need to know what your parameters are before before you can start thinking, okay, we can stretch here, we can cut here, that sort of thing, but we can't do anything without knowing what's the budget. And that's the number one thing that's the hardest to get from clients.
Well, let me tell you, I'm smiling for a couple reasons. I'm thinking about budget creep when it comes to movies, where they have, they go out and they fundraise for a big feature film and they've raised $4 million and then the film ends up costing $8 million.
Yeah.
That is poor budgeting, because they didn't think it all the way through. Now, that being said, doesn't mean like, okay, something blew up and we had to fix it. That there's stuff that's going to happen, but especially for a small to medium-sized business owner. So maybe you've grown to the point where I have cash that I can allocate to this because I've made enough of it. And I can take that cash. It's not necessary to turn the lights on or pay an employee or paying myself. Right. Now I've got some cash, but it's even more important for a small to medium-sized business owner to make sure they understand what the limitations are, because they're not like a big budget movie firm that can absorb $4 million worth of craziness. The other thing is, when I was a financial advisor at Edward Jones, I cannot tell you. Okay, so if there was 10 people came into my office, 9.5 of them. Okay, so basically every once in a while there was a unicorn that walked in. I would say, so how much money do you need to generate in retirement in order to retire? And they would say, what do you mean? I go, what do you mean? What I mean? What's your bills each month? Like, do you have a budget? And they're like, oh no. Most of them were like, no, I don't have a budget. I'm like, well, I don't understand. Like, how do you do it? Like, how do you know what's coming and going? You just don't. You have no clue. And it would take me months to get them to put a budget together. And then once they had the budget together, I'd say, okay, how about your car registrations and your tires and your like, how about that stuff? And how about it looks like you're getting a triple processing in your hair. How much does that cost you every month? And your nails, and looks like you guys are going out to happy hour a lot. I'm watching you on Facebook. What's your budget for that? I mean, you need vacation.
They start adding up,
and they go, oh. So I remember there was a couple who was business owners in my office. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping business owners, quite frankly. It is like the biggest reason.
Yeah.
They found out they had to generate like some ridiculous amount of money, let's say 19,000. Okay. Yeah. And their portfolio was generating like $4.22 at that point. And decrease the way you're living now, or you could increase your income. Yeah. And when they looked at what they could decrease, we got it down to like 15,000. You know what I mean? Like, okay. So really, for business owners, the only thing you can do is increase your income. Yep. So paying attention to budget when it comes to everything is super important, is my point. And if you haven't done a budget, this is like another thing that the process of doing this makes you go back. Like, what is your projections for your business? What's your budget? What do you need to generate every month? to be able to crack your nut. And is there really room in your budget at this time for video?
Right.
And if you're not, then make a plan to put video in the future. So whether you're a business owner or a single person or a family or a couple, being able to project, that's why I know what my numbers are now, and 3 years from now and 5 years from now, I know what I need to generate in order to be able to do what I want to do. So I think this is a good example of, if you haven't got a budget for your video, it's probably because you haven't got a budget for your business.
Right. And it's usually what comes attached to that is a certain expectation of production quality or what their vision may look like. And usually that expectation doesn't match budget. That's probably one of the biggest frustrations for most of us industry professionals is this feature length studio film expectation, but budget doesn't match or meet those expectations.
Right. You can't, I mean, if you get a Denny's budget, you can't expect I don't know.
A filet mignon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean,
if you have a budget, you want to prepare yourself for the best. I kind of think of it this way. There's, God, of course, I can't think of the designer right now. Her whole thing is about repurposing clothing from, oh my God, Laura Madden. Oh, I feel so much better. That would have really bothered me. Laura Madden do you know Laura?
No, I do not know.
I'll introduce you to Laura. Her whole thing is about finding fashion in thrift stores, repurposing, sustainability, right? So, the idea of, okay, if you have an event to go to and you need to look like stellar, but you've got $25 to spend, you actually can make something look amazing with $25, but it's not going to be a Versace.
Right. But it'll work.
So defining your purpose, I think, in the beginning is really important to be able to control expectations, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, these are the basics, right? You got to know, because every company is going to ask you, okay, who's your target audience? What's your call to action? And where do you plan on distributing this video? I mean, these are fact-finding questions any producer is going to be asking in that initial point of contact meeting, right? So you want to be prepared with that. And if you don't know, it's fine, because through some additional fact-finding questions back and forth and conversation between you, the producer, and yourself, you'll be able to then determine that. But if you come to the table with that information, it certainly does help, right? So, you don't have to remember, it's a collaboration. Like, they're the professional, they'll help you cultivate and flesh out some of those details, but it certainly does help to give them the launching off point, So, and it's good for you as a business owner to just know that information, to be understanding who your audience is for your business or brand, and understanding what a call to action is, but also understanding what your call to action typically is, and just knowing where are your audiences living, like where are they interacting and engaging with your business online, right? And just knowing that information as well, coming to the table. But just know that it's not necessary. They will help you flesh those out if needed, but it definitely, it really helps out quite a bit to launch.
You've got to be open-minded in the process, right? I mean, you can't just come to the table with a certain expectation and then just not be able to kind of pivot and shift a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, as you begin to go through, you get beyond that fact-finding initial point meeting, right? And then you let the creatives go create based off of the information, and then at some point you're going to want to come back to the table and discuss what the creative approach is going to be based off the information you've provided them. And it's awesome if you have a vision, and that's encouraged. Have a vision of what you think. Maybe you got inspired by something that you saw that you thought that would be really good for your business, right? That's great, but just understand that you want to have an open mind as well. Like, you hire these people for their creative aptitude, let them listen to your vision and let them create something unique from that vision that you have. And don't try not to get stuck. It's hard. I get it. I'm a creative. I have visions too. And you want to make it work, but try not to get stuck in tunnel vision on what that is, and just keep that open mind. Now, here's a little caveat to that is, if you see it stray from critical components like branding, or maybe the tone that you've established for your business it veers off, that's where you need to pull it back in. And that's where your opportunity to do that. So that's a little bit different in terms of not having an open mind to a creative vision, but ensuring that it stays on brand is what's critical. And that's where you need to do that early on in that creative meeting, before you get so far down the line that it costs you more money to pull it back in.
I think you said something really important about tone. My nutrition partner this week just put out a brand new video.
Uh-huh.
The tone was completely different than.
Oh, really?
It's the same product.
Yeah.
There's a component of the same goal.
Yeah.
But they changed the tone away from weight loss and performance, and more towards well-being, the art of well-being, and peace and harmony and health, right?
Yes.
So I just loved the shift, because I think it's limited to have all your communication be about one or two aspects of what your overall purpose is. And I think that this is a good indication of how sometimes things go. You create a video that has a certain tone, and you have a certain thing you're focusing on, like weight loss or performance, right?
Yeah.
After the performance, weight loss, like getting from point A to point B. And then you realize in the process of doing business that, wait a minute, we're limiting ourselves by only focusing on those two things. That we really should be focusing on overall health, because that's a long game as opposed to a short game, right? So the tone of the video was like, I cried when I watched it, because it's so on point, especially in these COVID times, that the most important thing you can do right now is be healthy.
Absolutely.
It may have something to do with your weight. It might not.
It's a broad enough thing that it could be applicable to multiple things, right? Immune system, weight, health, that sort of thing. And that's something that
if I haven't shared that video with you, I'll share it with you offline. It's really amazing. I mean, they really did a great job, and I'm sure they spent a bazillion on it. It was a very well done video. I'm sure they hired a great production company, but this is a company that has cash to spend on it, so they really did a stellar job on it. So defining scope is important, right? Because we don't want scope creep, where we have that's how you go from 4 million to 8 million in a movie. It's like, you start off. Well, I always think about that movie, The Jerk, with what's his name, Steve Martin, where he's like getting ready to leave. I don't remember what the scene exactly is, but the premise is he's like, well, I'll take this ashtray and this thing and this, and before you know, he's like, he's not just leaving with himself. He's continuing to, like, his scope is creeping, and it's a funny thing, because we can all relate to that, right? Having a defined purpose and knowing what your vision is, and being open-minded and knowing your budget coming in, but also making sure that once you get started, you don't start going, well, I want this too, and this too, and this too, because that's how your scope creeps. And with your scope creeping, so does your budget, right?
Well, and that's what we call a change order. Dun, 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 right? That's actually, change orders are inconvenient when you're already in production or in post, and you are going to pay for that because that is added cost. So what you'll likely be paying is the full rates based off of those changes and however many hours it adds on to that. So
what you're saying is important, because when you create a contract with a client, any production company, it's like hiring a contractor for your house.
Yes.
If you're putting it in the bathroom and they tear down the wall where you want to put the new tub, and they find that there's a manifestation of rats, or there's piping that needs to be ripped out, or I've renovated 3 houses. And you just don't know until you open it up and look at it. You buy a house, there's a septic tank, there's a hole in it, you got to there's all that stuff. And every time you do a switch with a contractor, you're paying by the hour, not by the project. So, and also you have to sometimes backtrack. So maybe they've already built the tub and now they want to put the shower on, but when they pull the wall off of the shower, they realize there's something in the tub area that needs to be ripped out. Now they got to rip out the tub again and redo it. So it's the same thing with video production. If you change your scope and you have creep, and that means not only are you paying for the change moving forward, but you might be changing the cleanup process of production. So it's making sure that you have a full handle on things is super important.
Right. Well, and that's why you need the scope needs to be defined. This is for the client benefit, but then also the company's benefit, because it protects both of you guys, right? So if you're not getting what you are have agreed to get within the scope, that protects you as the client and business owner, and vice versa. If you keep trying to add on and throw these little things in there, that's protecting the production company from losing a lot of money and adding a lot of extra man hours. Now, I want to there's a lot of great production companies in town here in Phoenix, and listen, like any one of us that work, whenever we work on a project, we always want to add value back to our clients, right? So whether that is like sometimes we'll, I will throw in if we have a shoot with a budget, I'll bring in someone on my dime to just shoot some BTS footage, and then we'll cut together. In addition, this is not even asked. This is just value add. We'll cut together a quick little BTS video montage, that sort of thing.
What does the acronym mean?
Behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah, behind the scenes cut of the shoot, right? And then that way you can use and that sort of thing. We're always looking to provide some additional value back, in addition to whatever is agreed upon within the scope, right? So like that sort of thing. But then also for you as the business owner and client, you want to get the maximum life out of the raw footage that you're going to be getting, or, of course, and that has to be agreed upon. You want to make sure that you're shooting as much content as you can within your budget and time can allow. So
you can always repurpose some of that for other things too,
exactly.
Right?
Don't just think about this one specific video. If there's some easy extra additional setups within you've already paid, you're paying for the day anyways, right? Yeah. And so if you have that time, fill that time up with getting some additional quick stuff along the way to maximize. But you want to make sure you know that information so you can let them know up front early on so it's in the scope of the project, and that way it gets done.
See, that's why it's so important to do that worksheet that you gave us a couple weeks ago to know what the other evergreens are that you're going to make, because then you've got a video guy out there. You might as well, okay, if you're a vet, we're focusing on dogs, but there just happens to be a kitty in that day that's a perfect fluffy white kitty that's getting something done, that you just might want to keep a little bit of something there, because you know that the next video is going to be about cats.
Right, so it's the same setup. Right? You can use all the same people, all the same scene. You just take the dog out, put the cat in.
Yeah, and you might as well while you're there.
And now you can create a video ad specific to cats, right? Yeah. Your messaging is specific to cats and cat owners and that sort of thing. So now you have one of each, and it just was additional, one additional 2 or 3 takes. And
you said something important about scope creep earlier I wanted to touch on. It's not just what scope creep does to the video production part of things. It's also what scope creep does to your internal team, because if you're creating work for your team or yourself, that's also creep on the other end. So it's important to try not to have that for both the video production cost, but also for your own stress level, because now you just added a bunch of work and extra time and money that doesn't need to be spent, which is important. Another thing that you were talking about was communication in the beginning, but also being responsive. Now, let me tell you, this is the reason, if I were to think about it, why I decided to move away from my marketing company. I had a marketing company for 23 years called Me Too Media Design and Marketing.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason why I decided not to continue to grow as a marketing company solely was this lack of response crap.
Yeah, it's a challenge sometimes.
Me insane. In fact, in my current rendition, I literally have created a life where I can turn on a dime if somebody I'm collaborating with is not responsive.
Yeah.
I just recently stopped a special series because I had, due to no fault, it's not necessarily a fault thing. It's not a finger pointing thing. Just that there was a situation where responsiveness was an issue based upon reality, right?
Right.
So there's two kinds of lack of response. There's one, laziness and lack of consideration and complete obliviousness.
Right.
Obliviousness, is that a word? And then there's also, but you've seen obliviousness. It should be a word, right? then there's also you have too much on your plate and you can't respond, and we've all been victim of that, right? Present company included. And that necessarily means that maybe there needs to be an adjustment in your scope based upon reality. You and I have readjusted on many levels, just the way it's reality is if you find yourself in a situation where you're not able to respond, then maybe you have to revisit the plan, the timeline that you've put together in writing. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that. We've attached dates to them. Maybe we need to push it out. Maybe we need to really push it out, because if there's a lack of responsiveness, it's either one or two things. Either you need to get your shit together.
Right.
Okay. Which is, I would say, probably 60% of the time, it is a get your shit together thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
I mean, just like, stop. Get me what I need. End of story, right?
Yeah.
And the other 40% is circumstantial, bandwidth, unforeseen changes. I mean, I had a project I was working on last year that the office manager quit. That changed the entire project. We just lost a person. You can't, it's not a blame thing. It's just a reality deal.
It happens.
You have to make a decision that you're going to be responsive and that you're going to show up and not allow your not having your shit together thing to affect the project, or to have a plan in place when you need to pivot because of life. And I think that this is part of what needs to be visited in the beginning. Like, if we have lack of responsiveness, what is the boundary? I literally create boundaries with people. I have to ask you for something more than 3 times. We're going to have a conversation about whether you're one of the 40% or you're one of the 60%.
Right.
If you're one of the 60%, we'll have a conversation about whether or not you're willing to get your shit together, whether you're able to get your shit together. Okay, I'm talking about in life, okay? Or you are just no longer a good investment of either one of our time, and you probably need to get therapy or maybe change careers completely. Okay, I mean, like, I'm kind of known for telling the truth. That's just the way it is. Like, you need to get out of your flipping business. Like, you have no business being in that business. You need to change. Or
it's just,
but just don't do it in my vicinity. You know what I mean?
It's just professional courtesy too, right?
Yeah.
I think you have a team of people that are working very hard for you. And when they send, a review cut over to you, they're probably on standby.
Yeah, that means they're not making money elsewhere. I had a client a couple of years ago that gave me a retainer, wanted me to follow through on something on Christmas Day. I'm like, dude, it's Christmas, right? And then never followed through again.
That's tough.
And the reality is that there's responsiveness on both sides, right? There's the videographer asking the client for something, and then there's a client providing the videographer. So it's for both of your benefit to make a game plan around lack of responsiveness in the beginning, because then professional courtesy is easier to access. And you can just say, hey, listen, here's this line item on our contract. You didn't respond by X date. You have now moved to the waiting list because we need to move on to the next client.
Yeah.
That lack of responsiveness has to be addressed, especially if you're a small business owner in the beginning. But you know what? Quite frankly, for any big company has to address that, because you've got people that the reality is if you're not bringing revenue in, you can't pay your people. So there has to be limitations on responsiveness for sure.
Yeah. And I would say generally, in my years of experience, that I haven't had a terrible issue with that, thankfully. Uh,
Oh God, you're a unicorn.
so I mean, that hasn't been too bad. And I think it's just simply because when it's dealing with like when you're in like the review stages of a cut and that sort of thing, the client is just as eager as you to kind of see what's been made and that sort of thing and provide the feedback, kind of see that. I think when it comes to something like that, it probably, to me, I think it might be a little bit different just because they've been part of that creative process and that creation of an idea into something tangible, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand and see where that can happen in other areas of business and that sort of thing, because it can be
very unusual if you haven't had a client like not follow through. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope that continues to be your experience.
Yeah.
But I really do, because and to your point, I really do think that if you involve the client in the beginning on the story, and they realize they're part of the team, then and I also think that what I've discovered is that with a smaller company, it's bandwidth issues that is the responsiveness. With smaller people, for the most part, it's bandwidth. It's that 40%. With bigger companies that have more on their plate, I think sometimes lack of awareness of the importance of particular projects gets lost because they're doing so much. And so they're not responding because they have 25 other projects they're working on. And it's not necessarily a bandwidth thing. It's more like a how important are you today thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That part I have experienced just being on staff, within a company working.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of as far as my independent career, I really haven't, and it's probably just because people are, they're financially attached to it, but also creatively attached to it as well. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just a good reminder, just be responsive.
I literally did marketing because I solely marketing because the biggest reason was I just got tired of begging for like copy and could you send me your headshot? I mean, holy crap, you know what I mean? Either let me come in there and shoot one or send it to me. Which is it? If you're gonna let me shoot it, then let's make an appointment. Like, holy crap, and show up, right? That stuff just is taxing. I've found a way to like build that out of my business experience, quite frankly. So it really is all about the relationship, which is what we're talking about here.
No, again,
I mean, you're building all of this in the beginning, and you're hiring somebody. You're actually starting from the beginning to build a healthy relationship with the production company that you're hiring.
Yeah, that's what because it just gets easier. I'm not gonna say easier. It gets more efficient, if you can build a long-term standing relationship with a production company or an agency or whomever that may be, because you get to know one another, right? So you understand how each other think. You understand, like, you kind of nailed down that you as the creative agency or company, like you can educate and kind of train them kind of like what your workflow is. You understand how they work as well. So then, you're able to make things more cohesive, more build that synergy between the two of you. It just takes a little bit of work up front to vet a company, find the right people, get through that first couple projects with them, kind of understand how you all work. There's always that little awkward feeling out phase and that sort of thing. But once you do that, you can really streamline the process of producing a video or anything creative for your business.
It's like dating.
It totally is.
It's like from going from the blind date to having a couple coffees to a couple dinners to dating. Now you're 2 or 3 days a week together, then living together, and then you see an old married couple. They just go ahead. They do things for each other that there's no words necessary, because for 30 years, he's eaten with a plastic fork, so you put a plastic fork down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you do. You know what I mean? You don't put the steel fork down, you put the plastic fork down. But anybody else, it was like, why is he eating with a plastic fork? It's like, well, because it hurts his teeth. You're like, oh, okay. It's the same thing.
Those little nuances, yeah. It's the same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Scotty, if somebody wants, all this sounds like Swahili, and someone wants to meet with us and do a free consultation, okay? Because like, okay, I need to hire a video production firm, and I really want to make sure I'm hitting all the marks. You can always go to meetwithmick.com, and you can make a free consultation appointment with Scotty, and I will help you through the process. Also, if you decided, you know what, I really think that Scotty is a really good idea, you can also meet with us, and we can talk about the scope of your project, and we can get Scott working on your project. So that's some story, and I'm sticking to it. So we're gonna be back again on the second and fourth Thursdays at 7 a.m. on Relentless Talk Radio. But you can always watch the replays either on my Facebook page at relentlesstalkradio.com or Relentless Talk Radio, or you can watch the replays on Instagram television now as of last week. Or you can go to Relentless Talk, youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com, and there's a playlist there of all the Video Lab episodes that we've had, this being 9. So there's 9 episodes as of this week there. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. We're back again next week. Anything else, Scott, you want to say before we?
No, I'm good. I hope this information helps and helps you kind of understand what that collaboration looks like and prepares you for whenever you do your next project.
Now, Scott and Brandy Lawson and I have been working on a project called Go Digital Faster. And what we'll be doing is kind of repackaging the Video Lab, which is all about video, and Digital Evolution, which is all about your evolution online as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. So we'll be keeping you posted about what's happening with GoDigitalFaster.com. But if you're interested in being on our email list, then go ahead and private message me either at my personal profile, Michelle Micalizzi 13, or at Relentless Talk Radio. I will make sure that you get on the email list to know about GoDigitalFaster.com in the future.
Awesome.
All right, guys, have a really great day.
All right,
and
guys, everyone.
Episode 9's a wrap.
All right, take care.
Take care.